Imagine being the strongest person alive, a living legend, the son of the king of the gods himself. You are a hero, celebrated across the land. But what if, in a single, horrifying moment, you were twisted into a monster, forced by a divine curse to commit an act so terrible, it would stain your soul forever? In ancient Greece, this was the reality for Heracles, a man blessed with the power of a god, but cursed by an inescapable fate. Can a man, even a demigod, ever wash away the blood of his own family from his hands? Hit like if you're ready to dive into this tale of tragedy and redemption, and comment, can any sin truly be forgiven? So, picture this, you are not the muscle-bound, perpetually cheerful cartoon character, but a man. A very, very strong man, sure, but a man nonetheless. You have a life. You've returned from war, a decorated hero for thieves, and the king has given you his own daughter, Megara, as a wife. Life is, for once, pretty good. You have a home, children, and a reputation that means you probably never have to pay for a drink ever again. You can feel the warmth from the hearth, hear the sounds of your kids playing in the courtyard. It's a peaceful, domestic scene, the kind of quiet you've earned. But you carry a heavy shadow. Your very existence is an insult to the queen of the gods, Hera. See, your father is Zeus, and your mother is not Hera. This makes you a living, breathing, ridiculously strong reminder of your father's infidelity, and Hera's grudge is the stuff of legends. It's a celestial-level cold shoulder that has followed you since birth. She's the kind of divine stepmother who doesn't just send a passive-aggressive text. She sends a pair of venomous snakes to your crib as a baby. You strangled them, of course, because you're Heracles. But the point stands. Hera does not like you. And on this peaceful day, she decides to act. You're sitting in your home, content, when a strange warmth floods your mind. It's not a pleasant warmth. It's a feverish, disorienting heat that makes the edges of the world blur. A sudden, screeching noise fills your ears, and a thick, red mist seems to seep in from the walls. Your heart pounds. Your family's laughter outside suddenly sounds like the cackling of demons. When your wife, Megara, walks in to see what's wrong, you don't see her. You see a monster, a creature sent to destroy you. Your children, running to your side for comfort, become a pack of snarling beasts, avatars of some enemy you must defeat. This is Hera's curse, a fit of pure, unadulterated madness. Scholars still argue whether this was a literal divine possession or a mythological interpretation of a severe psychological break. But for you, in this moment, it is terrifyingly real. Your body, the strongest in the world, moves on pure, horrific instinct. You are a warrior, and your home has become a battlefield. You fight with all your might against the phantoms only you can see, using your legendary strength to protect yourself from the horrors closing in. The nightmare is a blur of motion and screaming. Until it stops. The red mist evaporates, the screeching fades, and you are left standing in the sudden, deafening silence of your home, breathing heavily. But the monsters are gone. In their place are your wife and children. The full weight of what you have done crashes down on you with a force greater than any physical blow. You, the great hero, have destroyed the one thing you fought to protect. This is the sin that will define you, the unspeakable act that sends you running into exile, a man broken, seeking any path, any penance, to scrub the stain from your soul. And it's a known fact that Heracles' name, which means glory of Hera, was ironically given to him to try and appease the very goddess, who would cause him so much suffering. You wander the wilderness, a ghost haunted by the faces of your family. The weight of your sin is a physical burden, heavier than any stone you could lift. Sleep offers no escape, only replays of that red-misted horror. You are utterly alone. A pariah. In this profound darkness, there's only one place in the world that offers a sliver of light, a place for answers. The sacred home of the god Apollo. So, you make your way there, not as a hero, but as a beggar, pleading for a way to cleanse the blood from your soul. The journey is a blur of dusty roads and quiet forests, each step a penance in itself. You finally arrive at the sanctuary, nestled on the slopes of Mount Parnasse. The air here feels different, charged, ancient. You join the line of supplicants, kings, and commoners alike, all waiting to hear the words of the Pythia, Apollo's oracle. When your turn comes, you're led into the heart of the temple. It's dark inside, the air thick with the smell of burning laurel leaves and a strange, sweet vapor rising from a crack in the floor. Scholars still argue whether the Pythia's visions were induced by ethylene gas, simple oxygen deprivation, or pure religious ecstasy. But for you, standing there, the effect is undeniable. The priestess sits on a golden tripod, her eyes unfocused, her body swaying gently. You ask your question, your voice cracking with desperation. How can you be purified? How can you escape this torment? The Pythia's voice, when it comes, is not her own. It's a strange, raspy echo that seems to come from the stone itself. The words are clear, and they are a shock. You are to travel to the ancient citadel of Mycenae and offer your services to your cousin, King Eurystheus. For 12 years, you must be his servant and complete any 10 labors he demands of you. If you succeed, your stain will be washed away, and you will be granted immortality. Your heart sinks. Of all people, him. This is the ultimate humiliation. You know the story well. This is a family grudge that goes way back. Thanks to Hera's meddling, she delayed your birth and sped up his, ensuring that he, not you, would be born to fulfill a prophecy from Zeus and become king. Eurystheus is a man who owes his entire station to a divine technicality. He's a weak, cowardly, and deeply insecure ruler who has spent his entire life in your shadow. And now, the gods demand you serve him. It feels less like a noble quest for redemption and more like the universe's cruelest joke. But you have no choice. You accept your fate and make the journey to The gates of the fortress are imposing, but the king inside is anything but. When you are brought before him, you see a man who visibly shrinks in your presence. He's fidgety, his eyes darting around as if looking for an escape route. But beneath the fear, you see a flicker of something else. Smug satisfaction. He, the man who has always been second best, now holds absolute power over the great Heracles. The oracle's command has been delivered to him as well, and he can barely contain his glee. This is his chance to not only cement his own legacy, but to potentially get rid of his intimidating, far more popular cousin for good. He looks you up and down, a cruel smile playing on his lips, his mind already churning, concocting the most impossible, the most deadly tasks he can imagine. Your quest for redemption has begun, and your first boss is the worst kind of micromanager, one who secretly wants you to fail spectacularly. King Eurystheus, peering at you from a safe distance, his hands trembling slightly, gives you your first task. He wants you to kill and bring him the skin of the Nemean lion. The moment you enter the valley, the air feels heavy with fear. The fields are untended, the villagers eerily quiet. People peek at you from behind shuttered windows, their faces pale. This isn't a fight you can win with weapons. It's going to be a wrestling match. The lion's claws, which could shred a normal man to ribbons, rake across your demigod skin, leaving angry red welts, but failing to draw blood. You grapple with it, the stench of its breath hot in your face, its roars deafening in the enclosed space. Finally, you manage to lock your arms around its thick neck, sinking into a chokehold. It thrashes wildly, but you are Heracles. Your strength is absolute. You squeeze, and you squeeze, until the great beast goes limp. You track it back to its lair, a dark cave that cuts straight through a hillside, with an entrance on each end. After a moment of frustration, inspiration strikes. If the only thing that can cut a diamond is another diamond, maybe the same logic applies here. You carefully take one of the lion's own razor-sharp claws and, with some effort, use it to slice through the impervious skin. You work for hours, finally freeing the magnificent golden pelt. You throw it over your shoulders, pulling the head over your own like a helmet. It's an iconic look, really. You return to Mycenae, carrying the lion's carcass. When Eurystheus sees you, this giant of a man draped in the skin of an unkillable monster, he literally screams and dives into a massive bronze storage jar he had specially made to hide in. From then on, he decrees you're not allowed inside the city walls. Just show your proof from a distance. Thank you very much. A clever plan forms in your mind. You drag a pile of massive rocks to block one of the entrances, trapping the beast inside with you. This is a multi-headed serpent lurking in the swamps of Lerna. Its breath is poison, its blood is poison, and for every head you chop off, 2 more grow in its place. One head, in the very center, is immortal. So you grab your nephew Iolaus for backup monster slaying. Is always better with a buddy and head to the swamp. You lure the creature out, and the fight begins. You swing your sword, lopping off heads left and right, but it's a nightmare. The monster just gets bigger, a writhing mass of hissing, snapping fury. This is when you realize you need to change tactics. You yell at Iolaus to light a torch. Now, every time you slice off a head, he lunges in and sears the next stump with fire, cauterizing the wound so nothing can regrow. It works. Finally, only the immortal head is left. You chop it off, and since you can't kill it, you bury it under a huge boulder, where it's probably still writhing today. As a grim trophy, you dip your arrows in the Hydra's toxic blood, creating poison-tipped projectiles that will prove useful later. But Eurystheus, the king of petty technicalities, refuses to count the labor. Why, you had help, he whines from his part. So, the original 10 labors just became 11. Then you strip down, leaving your useless weapons behind, and enter the darkness from the other side. They tell you stories of a beast that moves like a golden blur, of shepherds and warriors who went to face it and never returned. Your usual tools of the trade, your bow, your spear, your heavy club, feel a bit inadequate, but you press on. You find the creature's tracks, massive paw prints pressed deep into the earth, and follow them into a rocky, desolate landscape. This isn't just any lion, it's a monstrous beast terrorizing the valley of Nyamea, a creature said to be descended from monsters and gods, with a golden hide that cannot be pierced by any weapon. He says this with a glint in his eye, a mix of fear and hopeful cruelty. This is clearly a suicide mission, and he's hoping you don't come back. So you head to Nemea, then you see it, basking on a sun-drenched rock. The lion is bigger than any bull, its muscles rippling under a coat that shines like actual gold. You nock an arrow, take careful aim, and let it fly. It strikes the lion square in the flank, and just bounces off, clattering harmlessly to the ground. The lion lifts its head, more annoyed than injured, and lets out a roar that shakes the very stones beneath your feet. Okay, plan A is a bust. You try your sword, rushing in, but it's like striking an anvil. The blade scrapes uselessly against its magical hide. The lion charges. You have to think fast. The fight is primal. It's a blur of claws, teeth, and raw power in the cramped, musty darkness. Now for the tricky part. Skinning it. How do you cut a hide that no blade can pierce? Hiding in his safety jar, he shouts out your second labor: kill the Lernaean Hydra. After the brute force required for the lion and the Hydra, your next labors feel like a completely different kind of challenge, designed by Eurystheus to be less about raw strength and more about endless, maddening frustration. He wants you to capture, alive and unharmed, the Lernaean hind. This is no ordinary deer. It's a creature sacred to Artemis, the goddess of the hunt, and it's a living work of art. The hind, exhausted after a full year on the run, is finally slowing down. He wants the Erymanthian boar, a gigantic, savage beast with razor-sharp tusks, which has been goring cattle and terrifying travelers on Mount Erymanthos. Your plan this time isn't to chase it for a year. You use your brain. Knowing the beast is powerful but not particularly clever, you shout and bang your spear on your shield, driving it from its forest lair and up the mountainside, higher and higher, into a deep snowdrift. The massive boar, weighed down by its own bulk, gets hopelessly stuck in the thick snow. You easily subdue the floundering, snorting beast, tie its legs together, and heave it onto your shoulders. The image of you trudging back to Mycene, carrying a giant, squealing boar on your back, is one of the most famous. When you arrive, Eurystheus takes one look at the snarling, tusked monster and, true to form, leaps back into his bronze safety jar, screaming for you to just get it out of his sight. Your task, once again, is to bring it back alive. So you head out, and on your way, you stop to visit a friend, a centaur named Pholus. This is where things get a bit sidetracked. Centaurs are famously rowdy. Pholus offers you hospitality, but you, being ask for a drink from the special wine cask, a vintage shared by all the centaurs. An obscure tidbit of lore says this wine was a gift from Dionysus himself, and its scent was so powerful it could drive mortals and, apparently, the moment you open it, the incredible aroma wafts out, and the other centaurs in the area smell it. They storm Pholus' cave, furious that someone is drinking their communal booze, and a massive brawl breaks out. You, of course, defend yourself, and in the chaos, you accidentally nick your old mentor, the wise centaur Chiron, with one of your hydra-poisoned arrows. Chiron is immortal, so the poison can't kill him, but it condemns him to an eternity of agonizing pain. It's a tragic accident, another shadow on your soul. Seeing your chance, you carefully aim your bow, not with a hydra-tipped arrow, but with a blunt one. You fire, pinning the deer by two of its legs, trapping it without breaking the skin or drawing blood. It's a masterful shot, a testament to your skill as much as your strength. As you're carefully lifting the sacred animal onto your shoulders, Artemis herself appears, and she is not happy. Her silver eyes flash with anger. How dare you harm my sacred hind? She demands. You have to think quickly. You explain the whole situation, Heracles' curse, the oracle, the labors, your desperate quest for redemption. You place all the blame squarely on Eurystheus, which is, to be fair, mostly true. Seeing your sincerity and your respect for her creature, her anger softens. It's a known fact that Artemis valued piety in your careful handling of her animal. Plus, your genuinely terrible situation convinces her. She heals the hind's minor injuries and allows you to take it back to my city. You show it to Eurystheus, who has no idea what to do with the magical, super fast deer, and then you set it free. One more labor down. It has hooves of bronze and horns of shimmering gold, and it's so fast it can outrun an arrow. Spilling even a drop of its sacred blood would bring the wrath of a very formidable goddess down upon your head. So, no brute force, no poison arrow, just running. You find the hind grazing in the hills near Eno, its golden horns catching the sunlight. It's even more beautiful and swift than the stories say. The moment it senses you, it's gone, a golden flash disappearing over the horizon. And so begins the longest, most infuriating chase of your life. For a solid year, you pursue this creature across the whole of Greece. You follow it through deep forests, over towering mountains, and across wide-open plains. This isn't a sprint, it's a marathon of You have to learn its patterns, its grazing spots, its watering holes. You live off the land, sleeping under the stars, your eyes always scanning the landscape for that telltale glint of gold. It's a quiet, lonely pursuit, a far cry from the violent chaos of your first two labors. Scholars still argue whether the year-long chase was meant to test piety and patience or simply to highlight the sheer supernatural speed of the hind. You finally corner it near the river Ladin, Arcadia. But the frustration isn't over. Next, Eurystheus sends you to capture another animal, but this one is the polar opposite of the graceful hind. Leaving the chaos behind, you continue up the mountain after the boar. After your frustratingly long animal-catching expeditions, Eurystheus decides to pivot from dangerous beasts to just plain, disgusting, and seemingly impossible tasks. He's clearly trying to humiliate you now. For your fifth labor, he looks at you, the hero clad in a magical lion skin, and says with a sneer, "Go clean the stables of King Augeas in a single day." This isn't just any stable. King Augeas of Elis owns a herd of divine cattle, thousands of them, and his stables haven't been cleaned in, well, scholars disagree on the exact number, but let's just say a very, very long time. 30 years is the most common figure, so you're looking at 3 decades of accumulated filth from thousands of animals. The stench is said to be so bad it has a public health crisis for the entire Peloponnese. It's a task not for a hero, but for 1,000 servants working for a month, and you have to do it by sunset. You travel to Elis and approach King Augeas. Now, you could use your super strength to shovel all day, but you're starting to learn that working smart is often better than working hard. You make a deal with the king. You don't mention Eurystheus or the labors. You just offer to clean his stables in 1 day. If you succeed, you want 1/10 of his divine cattle as payment. Augeas, thinking this is absolutely impossible, laughs and agrees to the deal, even calling his son as a witness. He's already picturing the look on your face when you fail. But you have a plan. You survey the lay of the land. The stables are situated in a valley, conveniently located between 2 major rivers, the Alpheus and the Pini. A little geological survey reveals all you need to know. First, you use your immense strength not to shovel manure, but to tear a massive hole in one wall of the stable yard. Then you walk over to the other side and smash an opening there as well. Next, you go upstream and start hauling massive boulders, piling them up to create a temporary dam. You divert the course of both rivers, redirecting their powerful currents straight towards the hole you made in the stable wall. The effect is immediate and spectacular. A roaring torrent of water floods into the filthy courtyard, a full-blown river washing through decades of accumulated grime. It's a massive, swirling, brown flush that carries everything out the exit hole on the other side and deposits it miles downstream. In a matter of hours, the entire complex is scoured clean, right down to the cobblestones. The rivers have done all the heavy lifting for you. You then restore the riverbanks, letting the water flow back in its original course. The stables are sparkling. The air, for the first time in a generation, is breathable. When you go to collect your payment, King Augeas refuses to pay up. He's learned from a spy that this was part of your labors for Eurystheus, and he claims that means your contract is void. He furiously denies ever making the deal in the first place. His own son, however, testifies against him, and in a fit of rage, Odysseus banishes both you and his son from his kingdom. Eurystheus, back in my scene, also refuses to count this labor. His reasoning: you did it for payment, he declares, completely ignoring the fact that you were cheated out of said payment. So now you're back to where you started. 2 labors completed, but officially, you're only credited for 1. The official tally is now 3 out of a promised 12. This is getting ridiculous. For your 6th labor, Eurystheus sends you to deal with the Stymphalian birds. These aren't your average pigeons. They are a massive flock of man-eating birds that have taken over the marshlands around Lake Stymphalia in Arcadia. They have beaks and talons of bronze, and their metallic feathers can be fired like sharp, deadly darts. They've made the whole area uninhabitable. When you get there, the problem is obvious. The swamp is too deep to wade through and too thick with vegetation to use a boat. You can't get close enough to fight them. As you stand at the edge of the marsh, wondering what to do, the goddess Athena appears. It's a known fact that Athena often aided heroes she favored, and you are definitely one of them. She hands you a crotola, a divine rattle, forged by the god Hephaestus himself. She tells you to climb a nearby hill and use it. You do as she says. From the hilltop overlooking the swamp, you shake the crotola. The sound it produces is ear-splitting, a supernatural clanging racket so horrible it could drive anyone mad. The birds, startled and terrified by the noise, burst from the trees in a massive, screeching cloud of metallic feathers. As they circle in the sky in a panicked frenzy, you pull out your bow. This is what you're good at. You begin to pick them off one by one, your arrows finding their mark. The ones you don't shoot down are so frightened by the divine rattle that they fly away, never to return to Greece again. You successfully cleared the menace, using a combination of divine intervention and good old-fashioned archery. This one, at least, Eurystheus has to count. Your labors now take you away from the Greek mainland, escalating in scope and danger. Eurystheus, clearly running out of local monsters, now sends you across the sea to the island of Crete. Your 7th task: capture the Cretan bull. His prize bull has become a massive, fire-breathing headache, and he's more than happy to let you take it off his hands. He offers you an army, ships, whatever you need. You, being Heracles, politely decline. He wanted to sacrifice it to Hera, but she refused the gift, not wanting to give any glory to your name. So, they just let it go. The bull, now free, wanders off to northern Greece, eventually settling near Marathon, where it will become a problem for another hero, Theseus, to deal with later. But for you, the labor is done. This is your labor, and you'll handle it alone. Your 8th labor: steal the mares of Diomedes. Diomedes is the king of a warlike tribe, and he's not a very nice guy. As you're trying to herd them, King Diomedes and his soldiers attack. You leave your young companion, a favorite of yours named Abdurus, to watch the horses while you go to fight the king. You battle Diomedes and, in a moment of poetic justice, you kill him and feed his body to his own mares. It's a known fact that once the horses ate their master, a strange calm came over them. They became surprisingly tame. But when you return to the horses, you find a tragedy. In your absence, the mares had reverted to their old habits and devoured poor Abdera. Heartbroken and filled with rage, you found the city of Abdera in his honor. Scholars still argue whether the horse's diet was literal or a metaphor for the brutal, inhuman nature of Diomedes' tribe. Regardless, you successfully lead the now docile horses back to your ship and sail for Mycenae. Eurystheus, after dedicating them to Hera, sets them free. They wander to Mount Olympus, where they are eventually eaten by wild animals. Another labor complete, but tinged with the bitterness of personal loss. He owns 4 magnificent mares, which he keeps tethered to their bronze mangers with iron chains, and he feeds them on a rather unique diet: the flesh of his unsuspecting guests. These are carnivorous, psychopathic horses. The task is to bring them back to Mycenae. You gather a small band of volunteers for this mission, because stealing from a ruthless king is a bit more complex than wrestling a bull. You track the bull across the ravaged Cretan countryside, following a trail of uprooted olive trees and scorched earth. This isn't just any bull. It's a magnificent, powerful creature that emerged from the sea, a gift from the god Poseidon to King Minos of Crete. The story goes that Minos was supposed to sacrifice the bull to the sea god, but it was so beautiful he decided to keep it and sacrifice a lesser one instead. This, as you can imagine, did not please Poseidon. As punishment, the god drove the bull mad. Now it rampages across the island, breathing fire and destroying everything in its path. It's also in an obscure and rather awkward bit of lore, the bull that fathered the Minotaur. But that's a whole other story involving Menasse's wife, Pasiphae, and a very strange wooden cow. Let's just say family matters on Crete are complicated. So you sail to Crete. When you arrive, King Minos is surprisingly helpful. Finding it is the easy part. The bull is a whirlwind of fury, its eyes glowing red, steam snorting from its nostrils. It charges you on sight. This isn't a creature you can outsmart or trap in the snow. This is a pure test of strength against a divinely empowered beast. You meet its charge head-on. The ground trembles as you grapple with it, wrestling the massive thrashing animal. You grab it by the horns, digging your heels into the ground, a titanic struggle of muscle and will. Slowly, painstakingly, you force it into submission. You wrestle it all the way to the coast, drag it into the sea, and then, in a truly legendary feat, you ride the bull across the waves all the way back to the Peloponnese. Imagine the sight. A hero, surfing on the back of a raging, fire-breathing monster across the Mediterranean. You present the subdued bull to Eurystheus. He, of course, is terrified. He wants nothing to do with it. Next, Eurystheus sends you even farther afield, to the wild, uncivilized northern kingdom of Thrace. You arrive in Thrace, easily overpower Diomedes' stable hands, and break the chains, holding the mares. But leading man-eating horses to a ship is tricky. Having successfully wrangled beasts from both the south and the north, Eurystheus now sends you east, to the edge of the known world, for a task that seems more like a diplomatic mission. At first, your ninth labor is to retrieve the girdle of Hippolyta is the queen of the Amazons, a fierce nation of all-female warriors who live on the shores of the Black Sea. Her girdle, or war belt, was a gift from her father, Ares, the god of war. You see them charging down the beach, weapons drawn, screaming for blood. In the heart of the melee, you fight your way to Queen Hip. Believing she was the architect of this treachery, you strike her down and take the girdle from her lifeless body. It's a deeply tragic moment, a diplomatic success twisted into a violent misunderstanding by the petty whim of a goddess. There's an obscure variant of the myth where Hippolyta isn't killed, but is instead captured and later marries Theseus. But the more common, and more tragic, version ends here on the blood-soaked beaches of the Mess. You and your men fight your way back to the ship, the precious girdle in hand, leaving behind a scene of death and sorrow. You have the prize, but the victory feels hollow, tainted by the needless conflict and the death of a queen who had, only moments before, offered you her kindness. You sail away from the Amazon shore with a heavy heart, another layer of grief added to your already burdened soul. From your perspective, it's a shocking, unprovoked betrayal. You think Hippolyta has double-crossed you. In the chaos and confusion of the sudden battle, you believe you have no choice. You draw your sword. The diplomatic mission instantly dissolves into a bloody, tragic conflict. You, the strongest man in the world, and your band of heroes are pitted against the fiercest warriors in the world. It's a symbol of her power and authority. Eurystheus doesn't want it for himself. His daughter Edmund has heard stories of this magnificent belt and has decided she simply must have it. So you're being sent on a potentially deadly quest across the sea to act as a personal shopper for a spoiled princess. You gather your companions and set sail for the Messera, the Amazon capital. The journey itself is an adventure, filled with side quests and encounters, but you finally arrive. You dock your ship and, deciding diplomacy is the best first step, you go to meet Queen Hip. To your surprise, the meeting goes incredibly well. Hippolyta is a powerful and reasonable ruler. She's impressed by your reputation and your heroic deeds. You explain your situation, the labors, the petty king, the whole redemption arc, and she's sympathetic. She listens patiently, and then, remarkably, she agrees to simply give you the girdle. No fight, no war, just a gift, queen to hero. It seems this is going to be your easiest labor yet. You're probably thinking you'll be home in time for dinner. But you should know by now that Hera is always watching, and she is not about to let you off that easily. She sees things going smoothly and decides to stir up some trouble. She disguises herself as an Amazon warrior and walks among the others who are gathered on the shore, watching your ship. She starts spreading vicious rumors. Did you see him? She whispers to one group. The stranger is here to kidnap our queen. To another, she says, I heard he plans to sell you all into slavery. Her lies are like poison, quickly spreading through the ranks of the proud and protective warriors. Scholars still argue whether the Amazons were inherently distrustful of men, or if Hera's divine influence was just that powerful. But the result is the same. Panic and suspicion turn to outrage. Just as Hippolyta is about to hand you the belt, the Amazons, whipped into a frenzy by Hera's deception, launch a full-scale attack on your ship. The fight is brutal. You are a warrior, and you react as one. After the tragedy in the east, your labors take you to the farthest reaches of the west, beyond the edge of any known map. Eurystheus, scraping the bottom of the mythological barrel for impossible tasks, gives you your 10th labor. You must travel to the mythical island of Erith, the Red Isle, and steal the cattle of Geryon. This is an undertaking so audacious it makes your previous journeys seem like a walk in the park. Erythia lies somewhere in the great Western Ocean, a place where the sun sets, and it's ruled by a creature that defies biology. Geryon is a giant with 3 heads, 3 torsos, and 6 arms, all joined at the waist. He is a formidable warrior, and his cattle are a magnificent herd, with distinctive crimson hides. Getting to this phantom island is the first problem. You travel all the way through Europe and across North Africa, until you reach the strait that separates the 2 continents. Here, where the Atlantic meets the Mediterranean, you perform a feat of engineering that will mark the world forever. You split a mountain in 2, creating the Pillars of Heracles, we now call the Strait of Gibraltar. It's a permanent monument to your strength, a gateway between the known world and the great unknown. But you still need a way to cross the ocean. Frustrated by the burning sun and with nowhere to go, you do something incredibly bold. You threaten the sun god, Helios, himself, firing an arrow at his golden chariot. Helios, rather than being offended, is actually impressed by your sheer audacity. He loans you his personal ride, a giant golden cup or bowl that he uses to sail across the ocean at night, from west back to east. It's a pretty sweet celestial vehicle. You sail across the ocean in this golden cup, the water shimmering around you, until you reach the shores of the Red Isle. The moment you land, you're met by the first line of defense, Orthrus, a 2-headed dog, brother of the Hydra and Cerberus. Apparently, monstrous, multi-headed canines run in the family. You deal with the guard dog swiftly. A single blow from your heavy olivewood club is all it takes. Next, the herdsman, a giant named Evrytion, comes running to stop you. He meets the same fate. Now, Geryon himself knows you're here. He comes charging at you, a terrifying sight. 3 shields, 3 helmets, 3 spears, all wielded by a single, monstrous being. The ensuing fight is one of your most challenging. You have to fend off attacks from 3 directions at once. It's a whirlwind of bronze and muscle. Scholars still argue about the logistics of this fight. Did the 3 bodies act in perfect concert? Either way, you find your opening. You draw your bow and fire a single, hydra-poisoned arrow with such force that it pierces all 3 of Geryon's bodies simultaneously, killing him instantly. With the owner and his security team out of the way, you now have to complete the most tedious part of the labor, herding a massive flock of red cattle back to Greece. This is the ultimate cross-country road trip from hell. You herd them back into Helios's golden cup and sail back to the mainland. Then you begin the long trek across Spain, through the Alps, and down into Italy. Along the way, you face constant challenges. A cattle-rustling giant named Cacus steals some of your herd and hides them in a cave. You have to find them, which you do by listening for their answering moves, and then deal with the thief. When you're crossing the Alps, Hera, in a final act of petty meddling for this labor, sends a gadfly to sting the cattle, scattering the entire herd in a panicked stampede. You spend weeks, maybe months, painstakingly tracking them all down and rounding them up again. There's an obscure local legend from Sicily that says one of your bulls swam to the island, and you had to wrestle a local king to get it back. Finally, after what feels like an eternity of being a divine cowboy, you arrive in my scene with the herd. Eurystheus, as usual, simply sacrifices the entire lot to Hera and marks the labor as complete. 2 more to go. You have now completed 10 labors over the course of 8 years. You should be done, but Eurystheus, ever the stickler for rules he makes up on the spot, reminds you that he disqualified 2 of them, the Hydra, because you had help, and the Aegean stables, because you tried to get paid. So, your sentence is extended. You have 2 more to go. He eagerly agrees. You brace yourself, squat down, and with a monumental effort, you lift the heavens from his shoulders onto your own. The weight is unimaginable, a crushing, cosmic pressure that threatens to flatten you. Meanwhile, Atlas, free for the first time in ages, happily strolls over to the garden. He easily gets past his daughters and even manages to lull the 100-headed dragon to sleep before plucking 3 of the golden apples. But when he returns, he has a sly look in his eyes. He's holding the apples, but he's not taking the sky back. This is great, he says. I feel so free. I'll just take these apples to Eurystheus for you. You can, just keep holding that. For your 11th labor, Eurystheus demands something truly mythical. You must bring him the golden apples of the Hesperides. You can't fight him, you're a bit busy holding up the universe. So, you feign agreement. You're right, you say, trying to sound casual despite the crushing weight. This is a good plan, but before you go, could you just take the sky back for 1 second? I just need to adjust my cloak on my shoulders to get a better grip. It's digging in a bit. Scholars still argue whether Atlas was truly this gullible or simply so desperate for his freedom that he wasn't thinking clearly. He falls for it. He sets the apples down, takes the sky back onto his shoulders, and for that one moment, you're free. You quickly snatch the golden apples from the ground, give him a nod, and say, thanks. Before walking away, leaving the stunned Titan to his eternal punishment, you return to Mycenae and present the apples to you. He has no idea what to do with immortal fruit. Eventually, the apples are returned to the garden by Athena, as it is a known fact that such powerful artifacts cannot be allowed to remain in the mortal world. 1 labor left. These aren't just any apples. They grow on a tree that was a wedding gift from Gaia, the earth herself, to Hera. They grant immortality to whoever eats them, and they are kept in a secret garden at the far western edge of the world, tended by nymphs called the Hesperides, and guarded by a terrifying 100-headed dragon named Lydon that never sleeps. The location of the garden is a divine secret. This isn't a task you can solve with strength alone. It's a treasure hunt with no map. Your journey begins with a long period of wandering and asking for directions. No one seems to know where the garden is. Standing at the edge of the world, condemned for eternity to hold the entire sky on his massive shoulders. It's a punishment for fighting against the gods in the great war of the Titans. Atlas is the father of the Hesperides, so he knows exactly where the garden is. You approach him and make your offer. You, Heracles, will take the sky from him and hold it on your shoulders for a little while, if he will just pop over to his daughter's garden and grab a few apples for you. You travel through Libya, where you wrestle the giant and the son of Gaia, who is invincible as long as he's touching the earth. You figure out his secret and lift him into the air to defeat him. You travel through Egypt, where you have to escape a king who tries to sacrifice you. It seems like you're getting nowhere, until you're advised to find Nereus, the old man of the sea, a wise, ancient sea god, who knows all secrets but doesn't share them willingly. You find him sleeping on the shore, and as he's a notorious ship, you have to grab onto him and hold on for dear life as he transforms into a lion, a snake, fire, and water. You just refuse to let go. Finally, he gives up and tells you where to find the garden and, more importantly, gives you a crucial piece of advice. Whatever you do, do not pick the apples yourself. You must get the Titan, Atlas, to do it for you. You follow his directions and travel to the northwest corner of Africa, where you find a truly incredible sight. The mighty Titan, Atlas. Atlas, groaning under his eternal burden, can't believe his luck. A vacation, a few minutes of freedom. You realize you've been tricked. The Titan has no intention of taking back his burden. You have to think fast. You stand before Eurystheus for the last time. He has thrown everything he could imagine at you, unbeatable monsters, impossible chasers, humiliating chores, and journeys to the literal ends of the earth. You have succeeded every single time. Now, hiding in his jar, his voice trembling with a mixture of terror and final, desperate hope, he gives you your 12th and final labor. It is the most dangerous, the most audacious task of all. You are to go down into the underworld, the realm of the dead, and bring back its guardian, the monstrous 3-headed dog Cerberus. This isn't just a quest, it's a direct violation of the natural order. No mortal has ever entered the land of the dead and returned. This is Eurystheus's final, guaranteed to-work plan to get rid of you forever. To prepare for a journey into death itself, you must first be initiated into the Eleusinian mysteries, a set of secret religious rites. These rituals were meant to purify mortals and offer them hope for a better afterlife. And for you, they serve as a spiritual passport, allowing you to enter Hades's realm without being a permanent resident. After your initiation, guided by Hermes, the messenger god who travels between worlds, you find a hidden entrance to the underworld at. You take a deep breath and descend into the chilling darkness. The air grows cold and damp, filled with the faint, fluttering whispers of shades, the ghostly remnants of the dead. They are like smoke, intangible and sorrowful. You cross the river Styx on the ferry of Charon, the grim ferryman who demands payment to carry souls across. He's initially reluctant to take a living passenger, but he's so intimidated by your presence that he agrees. On the other side, you step into the bleak, grey landscape of Hades. It's a place devoid of color and warmth, a kingdom of eternal twilight. You are a being of vibrant life in a land of absolute death, and your presence does not go unnoticed. But you are not here to fight the dead. You walk through the asphodel meadows, ignoring the ghostly figures, your focus locked on one goal: finding the king of this domain, Hades himself. You find him on his throne of black obsidian, next to his queen. Hades is a grim, imposing figure, but he is a god of law and order, not chaos. He listens, his dark eyes fixed on you, as you state your purpose. You're not here to steal anything or cause destruction. You are here on a mission from Eurystheus, to borrow his dog. Hades considers your request. He agrees, but with one very important condition. You must subdue Cerberus using only your bare hands. No weapons, no club, just pure strength. This is a challenge he thinks is impossible. You agree to his terms. You approach the gates, where the monstrous dog stands guard. Cerberus is a terrifying sight, 3 snarling heads, each with razor-sharp teeth, a mane of writhing snakes, and a serpent for a tail. Its growls echo with the finality of the grave. The fight is primal and brutal. You lunge, avoiding the snapping jaws and the venomous snake, and lock your arms around the creature's massive neck, just as you did with the Nemean lion so long ago. It feels like a lifetime has passed since that first labor. Cerberus thrashes, its 3 heads trying to bite you, its claws tearing at your lionskin cloak, but your grip is unbreakable. You squeeze, not to kill, but to dominate. The beast slowly, reluctantly, submits to your overwhelming power. You have done it. You have overpowered the Hound of Hell. You drag the whimpering, 3-headed monster up from the darkness and back into the world of light. The journey back is a strange one, leading a cowering hellhound on a chain. When you arrive at the court of Mycene and present the creature to Eurystheus, he doesn't just jump in his pot, he feigns from pure terror. He begs you to take the monster back where it came from. You have succeeded. You have completed the 12 labors. You take Cerberus back to the underworld, as promised, and set him back at his post. Your sentence is served. Your sin, at last, is cleansed. The echoes of your final journey fade, leaving a profound stillness in their wake. Your muscles, which once held the sky, can finally rest, and the roaring beasts of your past are now just stories whispered on the wind. The path of redemption was never a straight line, but a winding, harrowing road that took you to the very edges of existence and back. A journey that forged you not just into a hero of impossible strength, but into a symbol of enduring penance. The labors are over, the weight is lifted, and a quiet peace settles over you, as soft and as welcome as the dawn.